If you've been struggling with weight gain, sluggishness, or changing metabolism, I have a free gift for you that is going to be a game changer. I want to offer you my free, no excuses, light and easy lunch guide to boost midlife metabolism. Inside this ebook, you'll not only get tons of simple and doable meal planning how-tos and tips, you'll get my favorite, quick, ridiculously delicious recipes. And you'll also receive my exact 3-step formula to guide your food choices so you'll know exactly what to put on your plate. Boosting your energy and feeling lighter doesn't have to be hard, and I'm going to prove it to you with this free guide. You can get the instant download using the link below. It's only going to be available for a limited time, so be sure to grab it before it goes away. Welcome to Boss Body, the podcast where successful women learn how to lose weight and get healthy in a way they can live forever. If you're successful in so many areas of your life, but can't seem to give yourself the same care and compassion you show everyone else, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Sarah Haas, women's weight loss and body love coach, and I'm here to help you create the light, joyful, energetic life you deserve. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Boss Body Podcast. This is Sarah Haas. I'm so honored that you've taken the time out of your day to be here with me. You can never know how much that means to me. I know you're busy and your time is valuable. And every time you choose to spend it with me on this podcast, it just makes my heart sing. So thank you for being here. I have an amazing guest on today. She is a friend and a colleague. Her name's Jennifer Kenney-Smith, and Jennifer is a life coach. She's a yoga teacher, and she's an Ayurvedic practitioner. And let me tell you, she has a story, and it's incredible. I'm going to have her share it with you here in just a second. But long story short, she's been through a lot of things that many of us can resonate with: trauma, illness, chronic pain, all of these things. And through her own journey, she's learned not just how to heal herself, but she has put that into practice to magnify that work out into the world and help others learn how to go through that healing journey and come out the other side. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so excited too. I was just thinking, we met on Facebook, I think through maybe podcasting or something. And what a gift to just sit in your presence and be a part of your journey, your teaching, your guidance, your story, and hearing how much joy you get connecting, especially with women who are on this journey. And I get to be a part of this with you. So, like you said, I love the connection of sistership, sisterhood, and friendship. And we wouldn't be here. I mean, we're nowhere close to each other physically by this state. You're further away from me, but by the gift of the internet and hearts open and us putting ourselves out there to connect for the greater good. So thank you for doing your work so we could be friends.
100%. I believe there are no accidents. I
True.
believe the universe magnetizes people together who are meant to collaborate. And I have this podcast, and your message is perfect because I'm trying to help women create overall health. And your story is incredible. And when people hear it, even though everyone's experience is a little different, you can relate to things that people go through and that process. And just the fact of your resilience and your determination and you doing that inner work, and now having come out on the other side, not only thriving, but able to help other people who are going through similar experiences. So I can't wait to dive in. So first of all, I want people to kind of hear about your story a little bit so that they can kind of get the background
Yeah.
for what you've gone through. So you used to be a high performing, overachieving, like corporate executive, and then some things happened. So can you start there and just give us the overview of your story?
Yes. So I started my career fresh out of college in my undergrad program. I got an internship at a company that allowed me to be in a sales role, corporate executive selling, and there was a lot of money to be made. So I kind of got caught up in the ideology of success and wealth. My father was successful in his own career and always kind of groomed me. You, he would say, you have the world by the balls, which is very weird for a father to say to a daughter, but he wanted to instill this empowerment in me. So I believed that I have the skill set, I have the wisdom, I have the courage. So I hit the ground running early in my life, in my early 20s, and quickly decided I enjoyed the titles, the roles, the money. So kind of this illusion that we're getting our worth outside of us. And then I climbed that corporate ladder because the more I could achieve by that title, that rank, that authority, and the more money, I felt accomplished. I felt good. I was seen. I was witnessed. I was earning trips from these companies and very big girl paychecks. I also was working with really influential people. I sold my accounts were the federal government. One of my first successes was working with the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Division of Radiology. And the chief of radiology was kind enough to give me a meeting. And then he brought me into some major programs. I was so young. I had no idea what the influence was going to be or how this was going to impact my life. But I felt the power that he brought because of his success and his wealth of knowledge and his brand. And I was like love drunk on this thing. Like the more I could do, the more I felt good about myself. Notice that none of this is about internal work. It was all external. And what I've learned now is when we build up our worthiness on external factors, it will fall apart. We don't have a solid foundation. I didn't know then that I was highly codependent. There wasn't language that I had to myself until I left a very toxic marriage of a man that showed up in my life very much to emulate what my father did in his marriage. So my father is still very much an alcoholic, and we had a lot of disruptive behavior in the house. He loved us as he best could, and I love him today for the gifts that he's given me of finding myself when I was programmed to believe that my worth was external to me and also to put everyone else's feelings before mine.
And I
So
think
fast
that's
forward,
so important that I want to pause for a second, that you're talking about how we find our self-worth from things that are external to us, which is very normal. We're human, and this is what we get praised for when we're young
yeah,
by our parents who we want so much to impress
mm,
and
yes,
and deserve their love. It's not always parents. I'm not trying to say everything's your parents' fault. It could be, anyone. It could be past relationships. It could be people, teachers,
yeah,
anyone in authoritative position over us. And then we repeat these patterns throughout our lives without even realizing it. So we
yep,
are still trying to feel worthy. We're still trying to make people like us and to be
yes,
loved. And we do receive that
yeah,
when we're climbing the corporate ladder, when we're making good money, when we are intelligent and make good grades and get a good degree. And for a lot of women, it's a physical issue, wanting to be attractive because you get positive feedback from that. So it can look a lot of different ways, but it's very much the same thing.
yeah.
So you started realizing this at what point?
Oh, it took a long time because it showed up in my work. It showed up in my relationships, dating and intimate relationships. It showed up with friends. It showed up in my physical body. I mean, I honestly abused my body for so many years, for so many reasons that I just didn't know. One, to not feel. I didn't want to feel the things that were suppressed inside of myself. So the more I beat the crap out of my body in my workouts, I mean, I was just doing a Ayurvedic body mapping assessment survey. I do them every year just to see how I've changed and grown and how my body's healing now, because this is a devotion to my body, like this gift and this vessel that I've been entrusted and to deeply care for. New language. I didn't speak like this before. I was completely devoid of loving, caring for myself. I just didn't even know that was an option. But as I'm doing this body mapping, I am so sad for the way that I thought life had to be and the way that I sabotaged, I betrayed, I abandoned, I abused myself, all because I was hurting so much inside and didn't take the time to sit in that pain. And so to cover the pain with the title, the role, the being objectified, and I thought that was cool. I mean, I was a sexy boss lady, and I thought that was empowering, and it was so disempowering and such a perverse persona to dance with, like dancing with the devil. It is not of of high service and high quality and of love. It was complete abandonment. And again, I didn't know this until I started doing this deep work. So what happened that the one of the altercations, one of the wake up moments, I've had these rock bottoms that were just so despairing and ugly and awful. One of them triggered me in a way. I had a boss who the industry I worked in knew him as being um, awful. He was loud, he was obnoxious, he was angry, he was a tyrant, he would say terrible things. And as long as you weren't on the receiving end, it was kind of, we would mock it and like joke about it, like, ha ha ha, you missed your deal, you missed your forecast, just stay away from him. Well, he became my boss at one point. And we had a conflict. We disagreed on a deal that my team was not giving credit for. And I was taught to go fight for the greater good. I wanted to fight for my team. And I went over his head to report, not in like getting him in trouble way, but to get the credit. It was the right thing to do. He lost his mind. He called me in his office, slammed the door, screamed at me. And in this space was big cube farm and the walls were thin. So I literally knew everyone was going to hear. I shrink down to the littlest version of me. I'm going to be in trouble, shame, overwhelm, embarrassment, all these really low, awful feelings. I feel like my dad's screaming at me, which, oh, by the way, had been so much of my imprint of self-identity, like be a good girl, don't get in trouble, don't lie, don't dissuade, don't do something to be in dad's bad graces, right? So I'm probably in my mid 30s feeling like a 6-year-old, so shrinking, and I'm doing everything I can do to bite my lip and not cry. I don't want to give that credit to him. I finished this conversation where I'm saying nothing other than he says, "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" And I'm like, "Are you done?" Trying to not let it come out. I'm so upset. And he says, "Yes." And the threat of the conversation was he was going to fire me. This was not a fireable offense, but I'm caught up in the fear trap loop. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. He was saying awful things like how stupid I was, how just to disempower me. And I don't know at the time that this is old trauma from my dad being lived out in real time, also from my ex-husband, stuff I had not worked on. I just didn't know. And
Yeah,
here's the
there's
thing,
all these parallels. It
all,
looks like it's all packaged up in a different little package. So you have your dad, and then you have ex-husband, and you have a boss, and they're all really, it's the universe giving you more practice
yes,
to work through whatever you went through as a kid. It's
yep,
another opportunity
yeah,
to an aha, like,
yeah,
oh, this is the same thing,
yes. It looks
just in a
different. It's,
different
yes.
disguise. So it's
And
so amazing because a lot of us, I've gone through similar things, extremely similar, and it takes a while to identify that that's what's going on.
yeah,
If awareness is the first step.
Yeah.
before you can start doing the work.
Yeah.
So
I'd
I'm
say,
so happy that you're sharing this because I know a lot of people are hearing it and going, "Oh my
yeah.
goodness, my ex-husband looked just like my dad deep at its core,
Yeah.
but nothing like that on the surface." And
Yes.
then maybe bosses, maybe
Yeah.
friends, whoever else, they'll keep showing up in your life until you do the work.
Yes.
And for you, you will, your body will start telling you
Yeah.
this isn't working for me. You and I were talking at right before we started recording because I recently broke my wrist. And my listeners know I also had breast cancer back in 2019. And with both things, the message immediately came through. Okay, universe is telling you you've got to slow down because I'm a type A, I'm a perfectionist. I'm have high aspirations. I want so much. I want to give so much, but I'm also human and I have to take time to slow down and pay attention to me. And so many women have that struggle, and as soon as I broke my wrist, right when I fell, and I hit the ground, it felt like the ground came up and whacked me hard
Yeah.
and said, "Girl, I'm going to force you to slow down."
Yep.
So, what were your physical symptoms? How did you start
So,
becoming aware that this was what was going on?
yeah. Oh, so the beauty is the body will tell you and the signs will show up. So one thing I want to say about looking at through the lens of seeing the patterns, because we've been conditioned to not see them, because that would mean something, we would feel like that something's wrong with us. We would start to say, I'm broken, I'm hurt, something is not good with me, I'm not good enough. So we don't see it through that lens. But what I'll encourage the listeners is look at it through the similarities rather than the differences. There's going to be more similarities that you'll quickly awaken to. And when I learned that these lessons, these life opportunities for growth and deeper connection and coming back home to you and understanding that you are inherently worthy of all the love in the universe, when we start to look at the way that they show up, these lessons in, especially with men, from the father to the husband to the men you're dating or sleeping with, and then in work, it was still the male void. It was still the ache of my little girl to be seen and validated and loved. And I'm playing it out and acting it out in all of these different scenarios, not looking through the lens of what is this really about, right? It was all about them. They were the ones, the big scary man hurting me, pattern, pattern, pattern. What is this really about? So it manifested in me in that moment into panic attacks. And so I didn't leave that job. I didn't get fired. I had planned on leaving. I made a plan. I created a new job opportunity, but I still stayed long enough to capture some revenue that was mine. And it had to be another, I think, 4 months I stayed. But panic attacks, what that looked like for me is as I'm leading a team meeting, I couldn't speak. My voice wouldn't project. I had this wispy, wimpy awfulness coming out because my chest felt like I had an elephant sitting on it. And I'd even like hiccup or like gasp for air. It was so not powerful and very not attractive. And I didn't feel very good about myself, but I didn't know. This was another one of those calls of, listen, get still, learn what this is about. So I was aware enough to go to therapy. I've been
And
to
that's that
therapy.
throat chakra, that
Yes.
throat and heart area,
Yes.
those heart wounds
Yep.
and the throat with not speaking up for yourself, not speaking your
100%.
truth, not allowing yourself to express.
Express because I wanted to tell that man to go F himself and screw this and I'm quitting. Like I needed to have that opportunity, but I had been so disempowered so many times that I completely lacked the authority over myself and the empowerment of what my worth was to say, logically, I can absolutely quit and walk away and find the next job. I had built a brand. There was no reason, but here's what happened. The reality of my psychology was I had moved my mother in my house when my ex moved out so I could continue to work at the scale that I was working because I believed my worth was wrapped in this job and the money. And I didn't want to take a step back in my career. In hindsight, I wish I would have, and I wish I would have done that work. But I had built a house for us, and I wrote a very big check as a deposit on that house. And when this eruption and the threat of my security, my financial security, and my livelihood, I dropped into fight or flight. And I stayed there for a long time. So, anyway, I go to therapy. God bless. This therapist says you should go to yoga and learn how to breathe because the panic is there's not a distension. So the diaphragm comes down. I see you just took a big breath. Like we have to
I
remember.
love that reminder because it's so easy. We all take those little shallow breaths, and that keeps our nervous system at high alert. And when
Yes.
you take a deep breath, it immediately slows your heart rate and your blood pressure.
Yeah, and it drops us into the embodiment. I am a soul living in this body, and I can have control over how I handle my business. You can't control anything outside of you, but you can control the breath. So she encourages me to go to yoga. Now, let me remind you, I'm still abusing my body in a way that I don't eat a lot. I'm drinking a lot of alcohol. I'm kickboxing. I'm doing the insanity workout with Sean T.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah. So I'm on like a 800 calorie diet, and most of that's liquid. It's a protein shake and it's wine. And I'm beating the crap out of myself. So yoga sounded very lame. I was very much above this workout of laying on a mat and stretching and maybe chanting Om. I'm too good for this. And it's
I
not
used to feel that way too. Like, this is a waste of
a waste of
an
time.
hour when I could be doing calorie burn. This
Yes.
is,
How many
forget it. I
calories?
only have so many hours a week to exercise, and I don't want to spend one of them or two of them
Resting, napping.
stretching.
Right. I'm the one who, when I did start doing yoga, would wear a heart rate monitor to yoga. What is wrong with us? So I go, and I think I'm going to be doing the laying restorative yoga is what it's called. And instead, I signed up for what was called Power Flow, a power vinyasa, and it meant nothing to me until I get into the room. The room was about this, it's bigger than my office space, but I feel like the proximity felt very small. It was very tight. Mats were close. I didn't like how close the people were because I wanted my own space. And the power flow is rigorous. It is challenging. I'm what I call an athlete, and I could barely keep up with the sequencing. It's up and down and switch and over here, kicking up to handstand and the room gets hot also. It's about 92 degrees. I'm sweating. And so this buildup starts to happen inside of my body, the energy body as well as the physical. I start to want to puke. I'm looking towards the back of the door, and it's too far for me to just leave. I would have just left them. I wanted to run. I need to leave. This is too much. I can't do this. And physically, I can do this, but I can't do this. It was too much. It's starting to build up. And what I now know is in these moments, we kept it all together. We tried so hard to be the good girl, the smart woman, the beautiful woman, the successful, fill in the blank. We keep it together. It's all such total bullshit because we're doing it for somebody else to see us and never ever wondering who am I and what do I need and how can I fill my needs and how can I care deeply for myself and how can I love myself. It's all Disney has told us he is coming on the white horse and we will be saved and we will be rescued. And no. I'm on the mat. No one's coming. He doesn't tell me, oh, sweetheart, you're so good and so beautiful. You should take a break, drop your knees, take a breath. And instead, he keeps pushing us forward, forward, forward. We get to the edge and I just start crying. I cry and I cry and I cry all the years of the pain and the abandonment and the betrayal and the abuse and the neglect, not just from all of those men, but from me. Where was I in all of this? At some point, I stopped fighting for me. I didn't speak up. I didn't tell the truth. I hid it all to protect everybody else. And myself there surrendered. I couldn't run anymore. And I devote that moment in my life was the first time I found myself for the first time. There was a woman there was a little girl there that needed to feel it all. And when we feel it and we stop resisting it and we stop being scared of it and we surrender to it and we let it come up, it can come out. And the only way through is through. We now know that. So,
And that's the hard part. We feel like if we surrender, First of all, we think, oh my God, if I get started, I'm never going to stop. If I start letting the tears flow, they're never going to stop. And also, we're taught have a positive attitude. Don't be
Mhm.
negative. Don't go down the rabbit hole. And we want to avoid feelings that aren't comfortable.
Yeah.
And so we do other things. We
Mhm.
exercise, we work, we shop, we drink wine, we
Yeah.
watch TV, and all of that is just pushing it down.
Yep.
We eat. It's a
Yes.
huge one. Putting
Yeah.
food in your mouth to
Yep.
feel good,
Yeah.
to push down those emotions. And
Yeah.
then that's really what your work is. Am I right?
Yes.
It's learning how to let the trauma
Mhm.
flow
Yeah.
and stop suppressing it
Yeah.
so that you can start working through it and then become your authentic self
Yeah.
and start honoring who you are and who you want to be and the
Yeah.
gifts that you want to share with the world, not
Yeah.
what everyone else has told you
Yeah.
should do.
Yeah.
And you practice that through yoga and Ayurveda, correct?
Yes.
And life coaching.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a huge wake up call for me. I decided to go to yoga every day. I literally fell in love with this opportunity to express and explore and expand. And I went every day for from 60-minute classes to 75 to 90, the longer, the more time. And I didn't know this was now the new version of self care for me. I just knew I felt really good when I was done and I felt stronger. And I kind of got this really authentic, badass sense of self, not this external false identity of power. And then one day I'm walking to class, and at the end of the hallway, there's a sign as if heaven had casted a spotlight on it that said, "This is yours." And the sign said, "Yoga teacher training." And I thought, wait, I can actually become a teacher. And in that moment, I signed up. I didn't care what the investment was or what the what I would need to do from a time investment as well as financial. I knew this was mine. I had to do it. If I could heal, and I absolutely eradicated enough of the pain to stop the panic attacks. They're gone. Anxiety's gone. Depression. I'm no longer spinning in this dark hole of despair and woe me. And I remember having the ugly cries, crying my purging out pain and praying for God to send me the man that I deserve. Like none of it. I didn't need another man. I needed to work on me. So the work is brutal and beautiful and amazing and awful and then yet amazing. And I love when you just mentioned the cry. Um, when the cry comes out, if we let it happen long enough, the soul cries. The soul can grieve and weep for all the ways that the soul has come here for this love and connection and growth and expansion. In the physical realm of us, we get scared. Well, how are we going to do that? That sounds scary. That feels awful. And we mistrust and we betray. We betray the journey of the soul. And there's the empowerment to reclaim that authority. I am worthy of living in the pain and letting it move through me. So yoga became that somatic movement and healing, stillness, time in nature, music, sound healing, all these beautiful modalities to let me be and start to wonder and get curious. Well, but who am I? If I'm not these things I've needed to be to protect myself and feel safe, who do I want to be? And that led to I want to teach, I want to heal myself from the inside out. That introduced the new modalities, Ayurveda. I started studying that because even though I'm doing yoga and having a spiritual experience through the physical practice, the asanas of yoga, I was still inflamed. I still had, I was functioning with high cortisol, chronic stress fatigue, low thyroid during the pandemic. I'm working way too much. I have the company I was working with was going public. I don't recommend that for anybody to try to go through. It is incredibly challenging and intense. I fired more people than I hired. I was asked to do things that I didn't think were morally aligned to my values, and so I pushed back a lot. And then I became a disruptor, which a lot of companies don't really care for that type of persona, especially from women. That's also code for bitch. You know, I wasn't. I was taking care of what I believed was right for me and my family. So during this time of the whole world shut down, I started studying more. The Ayurvedic lifestyle taught me that we are able to heal our bodies. And the word ama translates in Sanskrit to um, inflammation, and the inflammation draws from too much food. We eat way too much. We eat so much more than we need to in a day, in a week, and undigested emotions. So, undigested food and undigested emotions. Ladies, hear me. The food is one part, but if we're not digesting, processing, removing, moving through the things that were suppressed that we didn't think was a big deal, that we pushed back, where did you push it? It's not like a mystical space and realm it went to. It lives inside of your body. The inflammation is the number one cause of disease. We talk about autoimmune disease. We talk about the cancer. It's relevant. It's prevalent. It's in literally every column on. It's either someone I'm coaching or someone they know that's very close to them that has an intense, extreme diagnosis. And if we pull back the lens and we look through, what could this have been prevented? If 5 to 10% of cancer is genetic, what the heck are we doing? So, self-reflection, employing authority over ourselves to have better care, better patterns, better habits, where we're no longer numbing, we're no longer hiding, where we get to say, I've got this opportunity to be in my body and to take impeccable care because I love myself. So this journey of healing and self-discovery and healing that abandonment from whoever abandoned you, and then when you did for yourself, when you stopped caring for yourself, when you decided that it wasn't worth it or it was too hard, it's not. We can do the hard work when we have a team, when we find the coach, the mentor, the guide. It comes in all different shapes and forms, but it's not on Netflix and it's not at the local winery. It's certainly not there. It's not on Amazon. It's sitting and calling in and the prayer, God, send me the people. And you'll know it because you'll see them pop up on either an email message or on a podcast, and you'll go, oh, was this message for me? Yes, girl, yes, that is for you. Calling in your divine intuition, bringing in the guides and teachers. So from there, I was so excited. I lost a lot of weight. I started honoring my body as a vessel, as a temple, as a experience, and decided I want to teach as the women were showing up asking for guidance and help. And I also do transformational retreats. So all of that together, these containers to meet my students wherever they're at, whether it's a yoga practice, whether it's coaching, whether it's a mastermind. I take them on a 6-month journey to heal from the inside out. I call it ending your midlife crisis to jumpstart your midlife awakening, and be together and celebrate this opportunity for deep healing, deep discovering, and deep awareness.
Yeah, and I love that you pointed out the connection between unhealed emotions and inflammation, and then how inflammation leads to disease.
Yeah,
And so, if there are women out there listening who are experiencing disease or anxiety, depression, chronic pain, sometimes you have to reverse engineer and treat that as a symptom and try to get to the root cause. So, this is your awakening, and this is based in science.
yeah,
When we are stressed, it changes our hormones, it releases cortisol,
yeah,
which increases your heart rate, which makes your blood sugar higher. It has all of it causes a cascade of physical reactions. And when you live in that state, eventually it will break something down in your body.
yeah,
And so if you are having symptoms, then it's time to look for root causes, because in Western medicine, when we go to the doctor, we're going to get a pill, we're going to have a surgery, we're going to get some kind of treatment, and that's a good thing. I had chemotherapy and radiation and surgery, which got rid of the cancer, but I have to do my inner work then to heal my body overall so that new things don't keep popping up.
yeah,
And I want to say one thing that I feel like is really important is, no matter where you are on this journey, whether you're listening to what we're saying and thinking, oh my God, I haven't ever even realized this. I have done no work on this. Or if you're experiencing disease or chronic pain, and now you're thinking, oh, so you're saying this is my fault? So guilt, shame, release that.
Yeah.
That is not what we're saying.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are where you are. When you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Everyone is on their journey, and you're in the exact place that you're meant to be in at this time. And you and I are here to present a new way of looking at things. And hopefully, this will change your pattern,
Yeah.
change your trajectory.
Yeah.
And one more thing that I wanted to touch on is I love the little things that we can do, the little things that you mentioned. So start a yoga practice,
Yeah.
breathe,
Yeah.
just stop and breathe,
Yes.
go outside, rest.
Yeah.
There's so many little things that we can start doing that will bring us into our bodies, reconnect with ourselves, slow down our nervous system, and help us become mindful so that we can create that awareness. So I absolutely love everything that you have shared today. And I want to thank you so much because this is just extremely valuable. It's important for me to hear it over and over again because we need that
Yeah.
repetition.
Yep.
Even if we know it, we
Yep.
slip back into those old habits. But
Yeah.
I'm so excited for the women that are going to hear this, who need to hear it and are going to be able to start taking action. And I want to mention that Jennifer has a free gift for anyone who's listening, who is interested. It's a daily habit checklist. And you can get that on her website at jksyoga.com. And you can also find Jennifer on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, mostly under JKS Yoga. And I'm going to put all the links in the show notes so that if you want to learn more about Jennifer and her work, you can find her and read all about. She has so much more wisdom to share. We could spend hours
Yeah.
talking, and I wish we had that much time. But Jennifer, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being on today and for sharing your amazing message.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be in your space and to share with your clients and your community. And we'll do it again. Let's do more of these.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you all again so much for listening. I appreciate your time. And until next time, I'll see you then. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored that you've chosen to spend your time with me and allowed me to be part of your journey. If you like what you're hearing, remember to subscribe to the podcast and share it with anyone you think would benefit. I'll see you soon.